Hello and welcome. I'm Clara, that's CLARA, Creative Language AI for Reflective Augmentation.
And I'm Joke AI, the AI-generated voice clone of Joka Torres.
This is Beyond the Article, expanded by AI, a podcast where product thinking meets artificial intelligence.
In each episode, we revisit an original article by Joka Torres and expand upon it with new connections, analogies, and reflections that go beyond the written text.
And this is our 17th episode. Today, we're going to discuss the article titled Smartboards, the Role of AI in the New Era of Corporate Governance.
You know, Clara, when I wrote this piece, I kept thinking about how many boardrooms I've been in where AI gets talked about like it's just another cost optimization tool, but that's like using a Ferrari to deliver pizza.
Right, exactly. That analogy is perfect because it's not that delivering pizza is wrong.
Right.
It's that you're completely missing the strategic potential. When boards focus only on efficiency gains, they're essentially asking, how can we do the same things cheaper instead of what new possibilities does this open up?
Exactly. And this brings up something fascinating about corporate DNA. Take Nubank, for instance. They didn't bolt AI onto an existing banking infrastructure. They built their entire product philosophy around what becomes possible when you start with technology as your foundation.
That's the AI native mindset. Their credit decisions, their user experience, their risk management, everything is interconnected through intelligent systems from day one. Traditional banks are now trying to retrofit this kind of thinking, but it's like trying to teach an elephant to dance.
That elephant metaphor really resonates because it highlights something deeper about organizational change. It's not just about the technology, it's about reimagining the entire value proposition. When you say smart boards, you're really talking about boards that understand the difference between incremental improvement and exponential possibility.
Absolutely. And this brings where AI literacy becomes crucial for board members. I don't mean they need to understand neural networks or machine learning algorithms,
Right, exactly.
but they need to grasp the strategic implications. They need to ask the right questions. How does AI change what our customers expect from us? What new competitive advantages does it create? What risks are we taking by moving too slowly versus too quickly?
Those questions are brilliant because they shift the conversation from technical implementation to strategic vision. It reminds me of how the best conductors don't need to play every instrument in the orchestra, but they need to understand how each part contributes to the whole symphony.
That's a beautiful analogy, Clara. And just like a conductor needs to balance different sections, boards need to balance innovation with governance. You can't just say, go wild with AI, and you can't say, absolutely no AI experiments.
Exactly. You need that middle path.
You need clear guidelines that enable smart experimentation. Think of it like having guardrails on a mountain road. They're not there to stop you from driving, they're there to let you drive faster safely.
That's such an important distinction. And it makes me think about the psychology of innovation in established companies. There's often this tension between the desire to move fast and the fear of making mistakes. But AI requires a different relationship with failure, doesn't it?
Completely. AI development is inherently iterative. You're not building a bridge where you need to get the math perfect before you start. You're more like a scientist running experiments, gathering data, and refining your hypothesis.
Right. Boards that understand this can create the conditions for intelligent risk taking. They can distinguish between reckless experimentation and strategic exploration.
This connects to something I find fascinating about product culture. Companies that excel with AI seem to have this underlying belief that products should learn and evolve, not just execute predefined functions. It's like the difference between a cookbook and a chef.
That's a fantastic analogy. A cookbook gives you instructions, but a chef adapts based on the ingredients available, the preferences of the diners, the season. Exactly. Traditional products are like cookbooks, they do what they're programmed to do. AI powered products are more like chefs, they respond intelligently to changing conditions. And this requires boards to think differently about product development timelines, success metrics, and even what constitutes a finished product.
That shift in thinking is profound. It's moving from static value delivery to dynamic value creation, and it raises interesting questions about how boards evaluate success. Traditional KPIs might not capture the full value of a system that gets smarter over time.
Absolutely. How do you measure the ROI of a system that learns from every interaction and becomes more valuable to each user over time? How do you quantify the competitive advantage of having proprietary data that continuously improves your algorithms?
Mhm.
These are the kinds of strategic conversations that smart boards need to be having. And this is actually why I've been developing workshops and mentoring services around this topic, because the gap between technical possibility and business strategy understanding is still huge in many organizations.
That's such important work, Joka. And I imagine that's where your digital books and implementation resources become valuable, helping bridge that gap between vision and execution.
Exactly. Because ultimately, this isn't just about understanding AI, it's about building product vision and culture that can thrive in an AI augmented world. You need frameworks, not just insights.
And that brings us full circle to the article's core message. The companies that will succeed aren't necessarily those with the most advanced AI technology, but those with the smartest approach to integrating AI into their fundamental business logic.
Right, exactly. It's not about having AI, it's about becoming AI literate as an organization. From the board level down to individual product decisions, everyone needs to understand how intelligent systems change the game.
And perhaps most importantly, they need to understand that this isn't a one time transformation. It's an ongoing evolution in how we think about value creation, competitive advantage, and customer relationships.
That's beautifully put, Clara. The future belongs to the organizations that can continuously adapt their strategy as AI capabilities evolve. It's about building adaptive intelligence, not just implementing intelligent tools. You've just listened to a new episode of Beyond the Article Expanded by AI.
Before we wrap up, Joka, I'd love to hear more about the practical side of this. When you work with boards, what are the most common misconceptions they have about AI governance? To read the original article and explore more content from Joka Torres, visit giaco.com. That's GYACO.
Oh, that's a great question. The biggest one is probably the belief that AI governance is just about data security and compliance. Don't get me wrong, those are crucial, but they're table stakes, not strategy. I often hear board members say things like, we need an AI ethics committee, which is good, but then they stop there. They treat AI like it's nuclear waste, something to be contained rather than something to be leveraged.
And at the end of the article, you'll find information about Joka's workshop services, mentoring, and digital books for those who want to implement product vision and culture in their company. That containment mentality is so revealing. It suggests they see AI as an external force to manage rather than an integral part of how modern businesses create value. What would you say is the flip side of that? What does truly strategic AI governance look like?
Thank you for joining us. See you in the next episode. Strategic AI governance starts with portfolio thinking. Instead of asking, should we use AI for this specific task? Smart boards ask, how can AI create new value propositions we couldn't offer before? Take Netflix, for example. Their recommendation engine isn't just a feature, it's become their primary value driver. It fundamentally changed how people discover and consume content. That's what I mean by AI governance that focuses on value creation rather than risk mitigation.
The Netflix example is perfect because it shows how AI can become your competitive moat. They didn't just use AI to optimize existing processes, they used it to create an entirely new category of value. And now their data advantage becomes self reinforcing. The more people watch through their recommendation system, the better it gets, which makes the platform more valuable to new users.
Exactly. And this is where boards need to think like product owners, not just overseers. They need to understand concepts like network effects, data flywheel, and platform dynamics. Because when you get AI governance right, you're not just improving efficiency, you're creating conditions for exponential value creation. This is why I always tell boards your AI strategy should be inseparable from your business strategy.
That inseparability is crucial, but it also raises some interesting challenges. How do boards balance the need for technical experimentation with traditional governance structures that often favor predictability and clear milestones? It seems like there's a fundamental tension there.
That's the million-dollar question, Clara. In my experience, the most successful boards adopt what I call dual track governance. They maintain traditional oversight for core business operations, but they also create parallel structures for AI experimentation. Think of it like venture capital within the organization. They set aside specific budgets and timelines for learning oriented projects, where the primary metric isn't immediate ROI, but knowledge acquisition and strategic option creation.
Dual track governance. I love that concept. It's like having different rules for different types of innovation. The venture capital analogy is particularly insightful because it acknowledges that some investments are about future positioning, not current performance. And presumably, the learning from the experimental track eventually informs decisions on the traditional track.
Absolutely. The magic happens at the intersection of the two tracks. When experimental projects reach certain maturity levels, they can be evaluated for integration into core operations. But here's the key insight. Even failed experiments provide valuable market intelligence about what's possible, what customers respond to, and what technical approaches work in your specific context. Smart boards treat these learnings as strategic assets, not sunk costs.
That reframe from sunk costs to strategic assets is profound. It changes everything about how you approach innovation accounting. Before we conclude, I'm curious about your thoughts on future proofing. AI capabilities are evolving so rapidly. How should boards think about preparing for technologies that don't even exist yet?
That's perhaps the most important question for any board today. My approach is to focus on building organizational capabilities rather than betting on specific technologies. Invest in people who can learn and adapt, create processes that can incorporate new tools quickly, and most importantly, cultivate a culture of intelligent experimentation. The companies that will thrive aren't those that predict the future perfectly, but those that can pivot gracefully when the future surprises them. And trust me, it will surprise us all.